Hi, I'm Andrew Clark. I'm a poet and fiction writer in Asheville, North Carolina, and I'm honored to be here as part of the Upcountry Literary Festival. I want to thank Ivy Randall and Kimberly Lawson. We were supposed to be with you last year in person, but COVID interrupted our plans and continues to interrupt these types of events. So it's an honor to be here. I'm really glad we decided to go forward. So I want to thank everyone on the Upcountry Literary Festival for including me. So I'm going to read from some poems from my book, Jesus in the Trailer. I'll have some information about that at the end of the video. And I'll also read some new poems. So in my poetry, I often like to take on different personas. This first poem, I was considering some of the egregious acts folks have committed around the country. There was a guy back in the 80s that backed a truck up to the Washington Monument and was going to blow it up. And I was just thinking about people taking these kinds of actions and maybe what might enter their minds in those moments. So the first poem is called Wildflowers. I am not the rifle's red dots that dance and chase each other across my chest like a cat chases the ray of light through the window. We are a handful of wildflowers with rainbow colors like the tie-dyed t-shirt you wore with your short boy's haircut in the snapshot on my wall. The men in black sulk and sprint behind the trees, circle the rented truck, blue lights flashing. I try to tell them about you, about us, but they've no faces, no mouths to answer. Your legs haven't been up in the stirrups birthing boys. Instead, they stretch out long, your feet up on the dashboard of my car. And we are low belly laughs. And we are quiet kisses on the neck. We are monuments the sculptor froze. No lines have found their way across your face. No imperfections have kissed your cheeks. We are back in the barn, our legs dangling from the loft in the dark where you forgot your father, the preacher, where our cheeks flushed from too much touching. This next poem is called Lovesick. Lovesick. Every day my lover and I meet under the canopy of moss-lined streets. Every day my lover and I eat the click of deadbolts unlocking. Quick squeak of springs on worn beds, pulling heavy dusty drapes tight, making the day become night. With kisses like grapes that crush syrupy sweet in the teeth, juices rushing over our tongues, in the shelter we hide from the day, I watch as you wash me away. Every day I turn over a new leaf, trying to look away when our eyes meet. I refuse to inhale your perfume, the sick smell of ripe fruit, swollen, heavy. Today, when you walk by, I pretend not to notice your summer dress, chosen for me. This next poem is called Monster Man. Another persona poem. Monster Man. He first approached me in a parking lot, covered in moss, leaves, and dust. He sleeps in a car, rotting with rust under wilting blankets, smelling of gas and oil. Like a child, he puts all the cars in his lap to eat them one by one with a crunch. He makes me sit on the edge of my chair, unable to recline at any time, one eye open wider than the other, large bulb with syncopated twitch. I'm afraid to leave the house. He's waiting. I watch the closed door till I sleep. Always 3 paces behind, always on a street corner with a sign. He is always in the back seat, a shadow in my rear mirror. He refuses to give up, the Monster Man. Monster Man pushes me into bars that are always open. He pours me a drink and brings me a woman in a short skirt with long leather boots. I stand in the corner, a war in my mind. He grins with black teeth at my fight. He is always in my car, always at the bar. He is everywhere at once, the monster man. He shows me things that I fear, things that I love, shoots them into me like a drug until I sit in the corner and gather them, pile up the women in my lap, eat them one by one with a crunch. And this last poem I'm going to read from the book is called An Ode to Slow Moving. And I sort of wrote this thinking about sort of the modern way that we live, sort of rushing from one activity to the other. Certainly we slowed down with COVID, but then I think it became people being glued to their phones for updates and glued to their televisions to see what's happening. And so this poem is sort of a call to slow down. An ode to slow moving. Let the sunlight wake you, all your clocks unplugged. Let time pour out like molasses, honey and butter on your plate, mixing like ninny dropped biscuits in the morning, mixing cornbread in an iron skillet by night. Take time to read the paper, a real paper, unfolded at the kitchen table. Read every page if you want. Take your coffee slow sipping, stirring in the heavy cream if you choose. Take time to read a book and don't rush through it. Let every word skip along the lake like a smooth, slick stone in the summertime. Go for long walks. Leave your cell phone behind. Don't count your steps. Just look to the trees and let them speak. Listen to the birds, and instead of just hearing their songs, memorize them. Pull the notes into your skin. Ignore bad news and smile at the sun the way it hangs in the sky. Refuse to rush. Let the fibers of your muscles twitch with slow labor, and don't wipe away your sweat. Then rest on the wood rocking chair and watch the cotton grow. But most of all, when you hold her, go slow. Go even slower. Stoke fires that smolder, not flame. Then sleep your deepest sleep. This first poem is part of a series of persona poems I'm kind of calling the Appalachian Clown series. I'm working on a new collection. And this first poem first appeared in Fall Lines, a journal out of Columbia, South Carolina. It's called Paper Dolls. Drought and famine and violence and tender enough to burn the world down. And it's only Tuesday. But one thing you understand is that you got to get right with God. It don't pay to wait. You're on the last verse of Just As I Am without one plea. Sister Gail keeps playing long as there are sinners out there, and you better get up. Fight your curled up, atrophied limbs. Fight your jangled up trifling. Get down front to that altar and make yourself low before the preacher. You don't have to do it. I know. Salvation is a choice. But if you don't, you should know a few things. One, the devil has nightmares too. They wouldn't make sense to you because they're made up of all the beauty of God's green spring bright fondling, the way vines creep under doorways and rise to choke the tallest, thickest trees in the woods out back. Did you know that there are flowers with black spider eye faces? God made those too. Bottomless night holes that fall for miles, sucking you in by your eyeballs, pulling fibrous orange sliced chunks from your back, bent and stretched and uglier than you can imagine. 2. You had no choice but to do it. You might could have become a preacher yourself, shopping, pinstripe suit catalogs, starching your collars out in a dingy basement, pull cord light bulbs burning your scalp. You might could have earned your keep on the mission field or in a soup kitchen, but when Mama took up the knife and cut that man across his face for the way he mocked her cooking, you ain't had no choice. 3. Scissors and girly magazines in your hiding place under the skirting of the trailer, stretched out on the warm dirt. You found magic powers.
kaleidoscoping girls every which way in that. Take this head and put it on that body. Put these legs under those hips. Take her tits and put them on that one there. And this one, she should be a dancer. So change her shoes. So much flesh and sin and skin that you mix and match in peach and black and orange and cream. You're nothing if not wicked. 4. When they pulled back the purple curtain, they found your stash. Took all your lovers away, best friends too. You had no choice. Sister Gail ain't called for another verse, so thank hallelujah for lighter fluid, kitchen matches, and sweet sulfur, black and blueness. This next poem was inspired. I saw a homeless man carrying a kitten. And the way he carried this kitten, it was just like the most precious thing in all the world to him. That really nothing else seemed to matter as much as this kitten. And so I wrote a poem about it. It's called So Many Rocks. Its mama done ate all the others, ate them right there in the bed where they tried to nurse, but I plucked this one out from under the crawl space, put it on my back, and we set out. We walked down highways and dusty country roads, and this little frost-colored kitten, she didn't do too good with the heat. I told her tales as if she was my baby, and she said thank you by digging her claws into my back till I bled. I pecked her little fevered head with kisses, her heart just a flutter, and I prayed out loud to the Lord to let her live. See how I slick the hair on her head down, but then it just stands right back on up? She's stubborn like that. And I think she refuses to die even though I can't get her to eat none. Please, just let her grow old like she should. Help her keep me company as I go down the road. Let me keep this one thing since I lost everything else. When you're homeless, nobody wants to lend you a shovel. Jesus said no, and it's hard to turn the dirt when there's so many rocks in this patch of land. It's hard to turn dirt what don't want to be turned. I'll just drop her here in this hole, and she can look out over this valley, and I'll go on. I'm going to finish with a poem that's going to be in the Appalachian Review shortly. It's called Treebeard. A little bit different from the others, but hopefully a nice uplifting end to our reading today. Treebeard, and it has an epigraph. It now appears that certain trees lower and raise their branches not only at nightfall or sunrise, but also within shorter periods, such as 2 hours. It's as if they have an internal heartbeat. And that's from the Scientific and Medical Network Journal, 2018. Really intrigued me, the article about how trees lower and raise their branches and possibly have something like a heartbeat that moves nutrients through their root system to other trees under the ground. So, Treebeard. Busy as we are, we feel your longing. When you walk by, hands out, held out, fingering our bark. Busy as we are, feeding fallen sisters and brothers lying at our feet, feeding beneath the earth, raising branches skyward, lowering again to earth each night. Busy as we are, you swore we moved, and so we did. In the dark, living, moving, singing things, fangorn and cinderin, baritone tree hearts thrumming along the trail. Wrap your arms around vibrations that feed your own heart. Put your head against the bast as if against some great beast whose heat rises from the loam. Thank you very much. It was an honor to be a part of the Upcountry Literary Festival. Thank you to all who participated, and thank you for watching.